Okay, so tonight we've got lots to talk through, and again, sorry for the delay. Just I'm in a different location tonight, so just bear with me. And in terms of the V-GovCon live news, so we're starting a new mastermind. It's called the V-Empower Mastermind. We've done masterminds in the past, and this was before COVID, where we met at a restaurant with other business owners, and we'll talk through with them. We'll do a 2-minute pitch. We'll put someone on the hot seat, and that someone would just go over their 2-minute pitch. In some cases, we gave them 10 minutes, and they were able to share with us what they're currently doing in their business, and then what are some of the challenges, struggles, pain points that they currently have. They'll also share with us in the next 30 days, what are some goals that they're planning to work on. And then we normally would have a group of folks in the room who would start asking questions. And these are questions just to get some enlightening on, also questions for that business owner to think about. And in some cases, we would, at the end, we would either assign an accountability partner for that business owner, or in some cases, we had some of our business owners walk away from those mastermind with partnerships that they can immediately start working with. In one case, I remember that we talked to one of the participants who were on the hot seat. At that point in her business, she needed, her main challenge was social media. She's like, I'm not good at this, need help with this, trying to figure this part out. And there was someone in the room who, that's all they did. And so they were able to say, hey, this is what we do. We can definitely help you. And we saw a sync where those two were able to meet up, and they were able to help each other out. And it's so important for these masterminds. I'm talking to a lot of you, folks from North Carolina, folks from Florida, and I'm seeing so much where a lot of what your challenges are. I just had a conversation with someone in another discovery call, and they did the same thing that you were having a challenge. So with these masterminds, what my intention is to be able to start connecting you with each other. And so that's what the V-Empower Masterminds will be about. We're starting those in August. That will be the offer. It is a group, so there's a membership to be part of that group. We don't just have any and anyone in those masterminds. There's things that we do, folks that we would try to get ready, and there's an agenda that we normally go through. So it's a streamlined meeting that we have of the minds. And again, a lot of times your struggles that you're bringing to the table are in the room, people who can help you. And so that's what we're going to be doing with the new set of masterminds that we're going to start up. And again, it's called the V-Empower Mastermind. We're also looking at a V-GovCon summit. I know 2019 was the last time we did the V-GovCon. We did a reception for V-GovCon, and we're able to bring some of our partners from across the US into Washington, DC, and to meet each other. And that was a great time. We're looking at doing something similar, but we wanted to start out with a summit first, and then one of the nights of the summit, we want to be able to do a V-GovCon reception where we're bringing all those folks together. And then we're also looking at doing a V-Empower VIP Mastermind, and that's a different event, but it's around the same time frame. So look out for these events. We're going to be announcing them, providing more information, but this is an opportunity for you to start talking with folks who can help provide some of the solutions that you're looking for. some of your solutions in talking to a lot of you are not just government contracting. It's just being a business owner. You need financing, right? You need new tools that you need help with. You need clients, right? So that's what we're trying to do, is be able to bring some of those folks in one room. And I say some because not everybody will be able to attend, but bring some of the folks in one room where you're meeting those folks and you're able to start having those conversations, start seeing how they can help or how you can help. And that's the best part about having these in-person events, is to be able to bring folks together. All right. So tonight we wanted to talk through how to create your technical proposal. So I started putting this together, slides, and then I realized, you know what? It would be best if I just show you an actual one that we used in the past. So so you'll see I started some of these slides where I'm showing you, or I'm telling you what you need, and then after that, I'm gonna move over to one that we submitted with one of our partners and just showing you the approach that we use with that one, okay? All right, so I hope everyone's ready to go. And again, I hope you can hear me okay. All right, so in this, so how to create your technical proposal, I'm just going back. So the first thing you want to have is a cover page. So the cover page is the first page. So if you're using Microsoft document, sometimes it comes in where you just create a cover page. And that will be the page where you're providing the details of who you're submitting it to and who's it coming from, who that technical proposal is coming from. The title page after that is, or in some cases, it's a cover letter. I've seen it where it's a cover letter. Cover letter is kind of like where the president actually create a letter and they put it inside. The title page, we're gonna go over that one. So what it looks like. The table of contents, figures, tables. I don't have an example of that. I'm assuming everybody know what that looks like. But the example that we'll use in the technical proposal, you'll be able to see that. The corporate experience, technical approach, management approach, past performance. These are not in any particular order. We've done proposals where they told us we don't want to see your management approach. We just want to know your technical approach and your corporate experience. We've done some where it says, hey, we only want to see your technical approach and your past performance. So these are not in any order because they can ask for them in different forms. And I'm using the terminology from one agency, but some agencies call them different things. They might say corporate overview. For technical approach, they might say your technical proposal. They might call it a volume 2, a volume 1. They're called different things. And then management approach, some folks just don't use this at all. They include that under the corporate experience. And then past performance, we've seen where that can be a volume by itself. And we also see where it can be part of your corporate experience. And then we see where it's just past performance. They're asking for that as a total different section in your technical proposal. So, and in other cases, we're seeing it where it's totally separate and they just want you to fill out a past performance questionnaire, or if you have CPARs, fill that out also. So again, these are depending on the RFP, the request for proposal that you're responding to. So because this was more of creating your technical proposal, I did not go back to looking at an RFP because I wanted to focus the time tonight. We don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to focus that time on showing you how to create your technical proposal. So the first one here is the cover page. So the cover page, again, is that first page that you're gonna see. And that first page will have some of this information here. And I'm hoping y'all can see this because some of this, I have to move this around, not really sure. Okay, there you go. All right, so I need you to make sure you're reading the instructions carefully. In some cases, the government tells you what they want on that cover page. They'll tell you, hey, on your cover page, your first page, I need you to include this information. I have here agency name, sub-agency name, office logo, that kind of thing. So here is one of our partners that we were on. And this one, the agency's USAID. And then they broke down to the other office that's under that. So I want you to be able to list out the main agency name. There might be a sub-agency, there might be an office under that sub-agency. And then in this case, you see that this one had the USAID logo. So that's an example of how you can do that. The next one on here is opportunity name, number, and type. So in this case, the opportunity name was MCIO strategic programs. Then there's an RFP number that you should include. And then it tells you volume 1 is your technical proposal. So you want to be able to include that information on your cover page. So when they pull it up, whether it's electronic form or paper form, they will know which RFP it's for. Okay, so make sure you have all that on your cover page. The next one is submitted by, and it's your company's information you're putting there. So I pulled this other one from a different agency that we used. And in this one, submitted by, you see it says submitted by, and then it has my company's information here. And so this one is company name, address, phone, email. And in our case here, we use a group email that not only myself, but several others on my team would get that email if we get a contract that's coming through that. And that's just making sure we got more than one eye on any opportunities that we're hearing back from the government on whether we got the award or not. And so I would suggest having a group email that you're using as your main email for these types of opportunities. If you have it where it's just one person, I've been on vacation, we've got no award, and I didn't even know because I'm not on my laptop. So that's why it's good to have a group email. So just some suggestions for you. We also include the submission due date. So the government remembers what time and date that we're supposed to be submitting it by. We just include that because a lot of times we've gotten where they've asked us to revise our proposal. It might be a new thing, a new function that they wanted us to add, or there might be an extension to time frames or something like that where we've gone back and changed something in there. And it was by their request. Sometimes we leave this and we just put the new date in red or some other color just so that they know that that is the original date and we're putting the other date that they asked us to submit it by. And then submitted to, this one we didn't have much because the requirement was not a lot to include, but it's normally the person's, the name of the company. Of course, you already have all that up here. So we just abbreviate it down here. And so we put the name of, in some cases, they'll tell you, send it to the contracting officer, send it to the contracting specialist. So you can list out those titles if they give you the titles. And then they give you emails on who you're supposed to send them to, okay? And sometimes they do include that person's phone number. So if they do, feel free to add it also. If they did not, don't add it, okay? So again, this is information that will be on the RFP, or it will be in the solicitation wherever you got it from. If you got it from a portal, if you got it from sam.gov, that information, the phone number, sometimes it will be there. Disclosure statement. So there's a disclosure statement you want to put on the front of on your cover page. And we've revised this in the past, but this is kind of like the one that we're mainly using now. Feel free to copy it. I don't care. Just copy it if you need to and use it. But at the end of the day, this is normally for your cover page. You're going to see the one on the other pages will be slightly less words. And it's basically referring them back to this. And this is just that the government know that anything that you're writing in here, and again, it depends on what it is that you're putting in your response. Some of it might be proprietary, so in a case like that, you want to have this disclosure statement in your proposal. And it's basically saying this proposal includes data that shall not be disclosed outside the government and shall not be duplicated, used, or disclosed in whole or in part for any purpose other than to evaluate this proposal. That is why if you've been a part of a team where you're the subcontractor, you might not see the proposal. It's mainly because of this disclosure statement. So just letting you know, these are hard to come by. And what I'm doing, no one else is doing this out there, because this, again, is not stuff that any company wants to share. But I think I've spoken to a lot of you on discovery calls, and the main thing is you don't even know what an example of a proposal looks like. You're so brand new in government contracting, no one's telling you this stuff, no one's showing you this stuff, and you have no idea, and you're going up against other companies who's been doing this for years, and they know what to do with those proposals, they know what to include, and you're clueless. So wanted to share some of the content, wanted to share some of the knowledge to you so you can get an idea of when you're submitting these proposals, what to include, okay? All right. And so the next one on here is the title page. Title page comes right after your cover page. This is the title page that we've used mainly for our FAA opportunities. And we've done a version of this for other opportunities. And it's just because we already know what FAA wants. They've told us every single opportunity that we've responded to, and the data is pretty much the same that they're looking for. So we've created this, and it's just the table that we created, and we just plug everything in. So every time we do a new one, we just already have most of the content already for this title page. We're just editing the title, and notice the title up here is the title of the opportunity. So it's the solicitation title. And then the procurement action, this is what FAA EFAS calls an RFP. So notice that's the number right there that I'm putting there. So pretty much everything else is already there every time we're responding. So we're just quickly updating this. We might update the functional area and a couple other things, but it's pretty much the same. So if you already have this in place, I would say create one if you don't. And again, it's a simple table you can create, plug in some of the information that find a solicitation you're responding to, plug in this information that they're asking for, and then now you already have a title page that's ready to go. And on the left, I'm just showing you some of the things that they're asking for. They also want to know who is the authorized person to negotiate the proposal. And what that means is if you get to a best and final offer, and that's normally when it's like the final stages and it's down to like 3 companies, they want to know who should they be contacting to be able to negotiate. So a lot of times it's the president or the CEO who's doing that. So you want to put that person's name. Now, in some cases, if you're like a mid-sized company or large, the person authorized to sign the proposal might be different to the person who can negotiate. So the negotiate person might be the contract manager, and the person authorized to sign, in some cases, might be the contract manager. In some cases, it's the CEO or the owner of the company. So again, this might be different depending on the size of your business. But for a lot of us who are chief everything officers, we're doing it all. And so in this case, might be the same person. So this is typically the information they're looking for. And then there's some compliance information. So in the RFP, they're going to ask you to comply with certain things. You can add those compliance requirements to your title page and state that you certify that whatever, or you are in compliance with whatever. So that's where you can put that. You can also, and I've seen where folks also include exceptions and things like that in their title page. So feel free to add other things in here that the government's asking you for. And then acceptance period. So here's how the acceptance period comes into play. Here I'm telling them this proposal is good for 120 days. Trying to remember the movie, but Draft Day. Anybody watch Draft Day? And Kevin Costner was negotiating with another NFL company and another NFL, and that owner, I think they're not the owner, but the manager of the team. They're in charge of making sure that they're getting all the good players. And in one case, he called and he was like, "Hey, this is my deal," and he put the deal on the table. And then he said, "This deal is only good for up till whatever time." Then he called the guy back, and the guy's like, "Hey," or the guy called him, can't remember. And he's like, "Hey, I'm ready for that deal." And Kevin's like, "No, that deal is no longer on the table." That's what this acceptance period is. It's the deal that you're giving to the government is your proposal. And you're now telling them how long this deal is good for. So in my case, I'm saying it's good for up to 120 days. That's typically like 4 months. And y'all know the government takes longer than that in some cases. So if 4 months pass and they have not awarded the contract yet, they still have my company in the running for it, they now will contact me and say, or whoever the person who is authorized to negotiate the proposal here, and request that we get that they get an extension. So they'll say, "Hey, we've got 2 more days for your proposal, your acceptance period. Can you give us an extension?" And I might say, I give them 30 more days, 60 more days, another 120 days, it depends. Sometimes they tell you how long they want it for, because they already know how much longer it will take, and they'll provide that information. So that's what the acceptance period is. I've seen some folks just give them 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. I'm telling you, government, it takes them a while just to go through that process. So 120 days is pretty much standard. All right. Past performance. So in this case, I just provided you with the tables that we use just so that you can get an idea of what it is that they're looking for the past performance. Some government clients we work with, they actually give us the past performance table to include in our technical proposal. Now, notice these are the ones that you're including in your technical proposal. There's going to be some past performance questionnaires, it's called PPQ, that they provide to you and say, "Hey, complete part A and part B," and then have that where you send it over to one of your past performance references to complete the other section. That's different to this. This is basically a quick way for the government to know if your company has past performance. And past performance generally is your company has gotten paid for services or products that you've sold. And what that means is you can be selling it as a subcontractor or a prime contractor. And that's why you'll see prime or sub here. And so what they want here in description is just you saying prime or subcontractor. That's it. Same thing in this form, you saying if you did the work as a prime or sub. The next thing is the project name. Notice the project name is not the client name. In this example, I left this as an example so you can get an idea. The project name is what is the name of the contract that you got the award under. And if you're the sub, that information would have been provided to you by the prime contractor. You use that information. And then the period of performance is the period of performance for the contract. Now, let's say you're a sub and you got in year 2 or option year 1, meaning you weren't there for base year, but you got in the second year of the performance. They still want to know how long the period of performance is for the whole contract, but you could also add how long you've gotten that contract, meaning if you came in year 2 or option year 1, just put that information from what time. So you'll put month, day, year, to month, day, year. That's what they're looking for in period of performance. Okay. And then the next one on here is point of contact. This is the point of contact for government. A lot of times, and I'm telling you, we've done a lot of subcontracting work. A lot of times when they're asking you for a point of contact, they're referring to the government person. So you still have to provide a government person's name, email, and phone number. And for that, what they're really trying to find out is that's the person they're going to call and they're going to contact. In some cases, and I'll tell you an example for us was our DOJ contract. We did not speak to the government person at all. Everything we did was through a prime contractor. And therefore, we didn't even know what the name is for the government person to put. So in that case, you can put the program manager on the contractor side as the point of contact. But if the government comes back and say, hey, we need a government person, you're gonna have to find that government person's name. Size can be quantified different ways. Sometimes they use size as how the dollar value of the contract. Sometimes they use size as the number of FTEs, full-time equivalent, or people on the contract. So again, you can use either or. And scope is basically what is the work that you did. So this can be a paragraph. I've done copy and paste from the statement of work and put it in the scope section. And just that, and then the scope sections end up being big, similar to this one. And then relevancy, so sometimes the government will tell you what that means, sometimes they don't. But try and figure out from them, what does that mean? That's a great question to ask if you are not sure. Relevancy in a lot of cases, how relevant is what this to the one that the scope of work that you're doing for the technical proposal that you're writing. So relevancy could be, hey, it was at the same agency. It was the work was similar. We did PMO work, so this is the same PMO work. It could be office. We did some work at a chief information office, and this is similar to that. So it's relevant that this one is with an office of chief information officer. So just come up with how is it relevant? How is this past performance relevant to the current scope of work? And then on this side, CPARs, or this is only if you've done government contracting, you know, this is a database where they'll pull your past performance. And this is just a yes or no question. Contract number, if you've already gotten a contract, you'll know what that is. If you're a subcontractor, check with your prime. And in some cases, your prime's not going to tell you. You can go find it on usaspending.gov, or sam.gov has everything now, so you can go find it there too. And then contract type, here it normally means if it's a hybrid, which is time and material, or fixed price, that's really what they're looking for. Contract vehicle is only if you had one, and you'll know if you did. And then the value here is the dollar side, the dollar amounts. So if the total contract for 5 years was 5 million, then you put that amount. Then the duration is that period of performance, amount invoiced to date. So how much have you invoiced, whether it's your prime contractor or the government up to this point? That's what that means. I hope this was helpful. I'm gonna quickly stop sharing so I can grab that example. Any questions so far? Would you include past performance that is non-governmental? Great question. Yes. So Regina, yes. You can include past performance that is non-governmental if it's relevant. So it goes back to that question of relevancy. And so that's one way of doing that. So I think I've got it to where I can share now. So this, and again, these are very proprietary, so I'm gonna share this, but I might be moving quickly through the slides. So in this case, I'm showing you an example. This is one of our partners that we worked with before. And this is a USDA opportunity that we bid on together. And we got all the way up to the final stages with them. So notice here it says submitted by, and they're providing all the information. So notice all of this is on one page. This is on your cover page and then submitted to. That information is there. Notice there's no title page because the information that will be on a title page were included here. Then you got your table of contents where you're providing your information on the pages. Then you've got a table of tables and a table of figures. These are very important. Sometimes the government just want to go straight to that table and just want to click on it. So you want to be able to do that, okay? And again, I'm not going to go through too much of this because there's proprietary information in this. But just see here that there are examples. If you're doing a teaming, it's showing your teaming information here. Notice at the top that they're including, you want to include the technical, if in this case it was an RFQ, but you're including the name of the department, you're also including the contract name. And then technical, this is a factor 1. So you might have where they say factor 1, factor 2. This is V-PMC. This is our proprietary response that we use for all of our responses. So you'll see this diagram in anything that we're submitting to government. That's our technical approach. So here they're talking about the technical approach. And for us, it's the EPMO approach. So we have a framework that we use, and we created this. This is our proprietary content here that we're using, and we allowed our partner to use it in this response. And then here, this was just showing the how again. And in this case, there were 7 focus areas, and we're just showing who's doing what and which past performance that we have so far where we were able to have, where we've completed those focus areas with that agency. So it's just an example of that here. And I'm gonna quickly go through this because it has dollar values on here. So with this, we were giving an example of a technical experience, but with a contract information. So again, moving through this, and then notice the scope of work. So it's similar to what I just showed you. And then there are several examples of that here. The next section is the management section. And again, we're using V-PMC's approach here where we're talking about doing program management, and we're going through our 3 phases of program management: program definition phase, our delivery phase, and our, I'm getting to the other phase, sorry, and the close phase, probably program closure. So you want to be able to, in your management section, have an org chart. So come up with an org chart. We've done org charts where it's by functional areas. We've done it, in this case, that's what the FAs mean. We've done it by task areas. We've done it by breaking up the contract. We might say we're doing governance, we're doing program or project management, we're doing enterprise architecture, we're doing cybersecurity. So we might break it down by those types of functional areas. So you'll see that. See if we can increase this a bit so you can get an idea. So in this case, we just have where the program manager, we're providing that information, and then we're breaking it down by functional areas. And then we're putting in who's doing what, and the colors represent the companies that's doing what. And then we have a section where we're providing the government, who we're working with on the government side, and then we're also using the colors to show this. Anything in yellow is the actual contract, the folks who are doing the work. On the left, the navy, that's the management team. So again, one diagram can tell them a lot. So having an org chart is very key. Always want to create that. We've done org charts in Word, we've done them in PowerPoint, we've done them in graphics tools. So the easiest way is definitely PowerPoint has an easy way of you taking the text and turning it into an org chart. So feel free to use that. Recruiting, how are you gaining the candidates that you're going to be providing for to do the work? So come up with whatever that recruiting process is that you're going to use. They want to know that. Okay, and then how are you closing out the contract? The key personnel, you always see that. You want to be able to say who the key personnel are on the contract and then provide their resumes. And I'm not going to go through this, but there's a part where you want to include the resume section. They'll tell you if they want that to be included. And then qualifications is what we're calling this here. This is sometimes your corporate overview, and it's where the company itself is saying what they do, who they are, what certifications they've got, that kind of stuff. So you want to, and again, this one is calling it qualifications. Corporate overview is another name for it. Corporate approach, management approach, that kind of stuff, you'll see some of that information. So it's about the company, think of it that way. So you're putting that information about the company. And then here we're talking about what are some examples of project experience. So how it's basically going back to the, how do you have the relevant experience? Have you done stuff like this before? And so they're putting in here some of that example. So that's what I wanted to show you. I'm not going to go through everything in here. The quality management is always a big thing that you'll see. So here we're talking about quality control. And so they'll give you a deliverables table, and in some cases they might have performance objectives. How are you meeting those is really what this is. So taking that same table that's in the requirement, putting it back in to the proposal is always a good thing. And then just say how you're meeting them. So in this case, we're talking about the frequency. It's pretty much everything that they had. And then we're talking here about how we're doing, what we're doing to be able to meet those. And then there's something that we came up with. The use of methodologies is always a good thing, because that's how government knows what it is and what it is you're doing and how are you doing it. So if you're implementing and using a methodology, here we're talking about the Plan, Do, Check Act for quality control. We also use ITIL, we use PMI. So using a lot of those approaches always help, okay? And that's pretty much it here. I'm gonna stop sharing so that we can answer some questions. I hope that was helpful for you. And I can tell you, no one's gonna be showing you this because a lot of this is proprietary, but I thought it was needed. I get a lot of these calls on when we do our discovery calls where folks are asking, hey, is there a way to see one of these? Can you show me this? And I tell them the same thing, it's proprietary, not even your prime contractor in some cases is gonna show it to you. But I felt the need to do this, and that's why I'm doing it. So hopefully, I hope this was helpful. So now I'm gonna turn it over to Haley to start asking the questions, and hoping I can answer all your questions.
Yeah, right now we have 2 questions in our queue. Patrick Angel asked, I've done work for the state of Texas as a subcontractor. Does this count as past performance?
Yes, it does. So whether you're doing work at the state level, the county level, or even commercial, uh, if your company got paid for it, then yes, you have past performance.
All right. All right. Kemi asked, can meeting event spaces get government contracts?
Yes, I see a lot of, so I'll give you an example. I was down in Norfolk, Virginia in June. And there was one company who got the contract to be able to host the event. And what that meant was they had to go find meeting spaces, find restaurants they could work with to be able to take the government dollars and pay those folks to be able to use it for government events. So government's always, they're doing retreats, they're doing summits, they're doing conferences, and they're always looking for event spaces to do those at. And so if you already have a space or you have access to facilities, that would come under facilities management in some cases. Some cases it will be under an event. So you'll see trade shows, organization shows, expos, conferences, that kind of thing. That would be the NAICS code that you use for those.
Lovely.
Any other questions?
Mhm.
Were there
Do
any,
you, I'm sorry, go on.
I was gonna ask you if there were any questions that were submitted in the forms.
Yes, there are some, but Shaniqua also asked, do you answer a RFQ the same as you would an RFP? If not, what's the difference?
Great question. In some cases, yes, in some cases, no. It depends on what the government's asking. And here's the reason why. An RFQ, I've seen where they're asked, an RFQ in essence is really, they want your quote. They want your price. That's what an RFQ is mainly about, request for quote. And so most of those, it's all about your pricing. They might provide you with one sheet and they don't want to see the details on that sheet. They just ask you to submit your total price on that sheet. Now, you still might have to submit that Excel document with all the details of how you came up with your fully burdened rate. Just so you know, next month, that's what we're covering. That will be the topic for next month, is how you're getting to your price proposal. But the RFQ is focused on your pricing. Now, and you saw that example, that was an RFQ that we're responding to. But they needed all the technical details in there still. So what we did was we created a technical proposal, and the price proposal is always separate. They don't want those mixed because different people are viewing the technical to who's viewing the price. They've got accountants reviewing the price proposal, and then got those people who are the subject matter experts in the technical area. They're the ones reviewing the technical, so they don't want those two people talking together. They're reviewing them separate. So in that case, so the example I showed you, that was a technical proposal for an RFQ. So we've had some that we had to respond to that required us to create a technical proposal. Now, the RFP, the request for proposal, whenever you see those are always a technical proposal required, a price proposal, past performance, and they're gonna have all these attachments you gotta complete. That's normally for you to respond to that RFP. So RFP, whenever you see those, it's a lot of work. Just know you're not getting it done next week if you're just starting it this week. So if you're responding to an RFP, just make sure there's at least 30 days out for you to be able to get all that work completed. So quick thing, RFQ, it's normally just pricing they're asking for, but we've seen some that they ask for technical. RFP, it's pricing, it's technical proposal, and it's past performance and all these other attachments. So it's a little bigger in scope.
All right. Haley asked, what's the professional management skills I need to prepare to apply project management service?
Great question, Haley. And so Haley, you and I had spoken on this. If you're doing project management, and I'll tell you, that's what our company started. That's our core competency. You do need at least, if you don't have the PMP, make sure the person you are hiring to do the work, the services, make sure that that person is PMP certified. You need at least one person who's PMP certified, because that's the methodology the government uses for project management. So it's included in their CPIC process, which is the Capital Planning Investment Control process. And that's how they're managing the project. So they want us, the consultants, so when we're showing up, when we're responding to these RFPs and RFQs, that we have the project management knowledge, where we understand the methodology, we are using the methodology, the standards from PMI. We know that, what those are. So they're expecting us to show up as consultants already having this knowledge on how to manage projects using PMI's PMBOK, how to manage programs using the standards, the program management standards. They're expecting us to already have that. So that would be the first thing I would say, making sure you understand those. If you don't have those certifications yet, at least know the methodology. Because I started doing project management without having my PMP certification. I was already managing projects with government. And it's because I was always referring back to PMI's PMBOK. So at least know the methodology, and then also learn government lingo on how they manage projects. So if you're targeting, and I'm using Department of Education as an example, if you're targeting Department of Education as an agency you want to do business with, find out what PM standard they're using, what PM methodology they're using, how that agency is doing project management. They will have guides, orders, directives, different documents they already created and they're using as their policy document. So start looking at that, going to their website, ed.gov in that case, and finding out how do they do project management, and be versed on it, because when you submit those proposals, they want to know that that you know who they are, you know how they do project management, and you're talking their language. And it's not just project management. If you do cybersecurity, same thing. Make sure you understand what standards government's using. If you're doing enterprise architecture, those things, any services based, make sure you're understanding the lingo, the methodologies, the standards, the government documents, the government policies that they're using for those types of services. But great question.
All right. Diane asked, or stated that she got her UEI last week, and she wants to know if she should continue through to achieve full registration on SAM before submitting for her DBE application.
So Diane, the DBE does not require you to have your UEI or even your cage code. So DBE, if you started that, just start working on that. That's just 2 forms you can get done quickly within a week and get that done, knocked out the door. Congrats on your UEI. That's a big time. I'm proud of you for getting that done. But yes, continue with that. The new process where you don't need a DUNS number anymore, you can start getting your UEI, your unique entity ID. And then because it's the same platform you're using for cage code, after you get that, you can start going through all those forms to be able to get your cage code. So keep going at it is what I would say. Get all the way to the end where you're submitting that. They're backed up. Davy and Cage is backed up right now, so there's a whole lot of validation that they're doing, and that takes time. So getting the DB is going to be way quicker than you getting that Cage code. But you can do both. You can do them simultaneously.
All right, and then Maria also asked what those two forms are for the DBE application.
Great question. One's the unique application. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's basically the DBE form. You can go to any Department of Transportation agency. They all use the same form. So if you would, no matter which state you're in, you could even go to the US transportation.gov and get those forms there, because every state they're using those forms. Right? It's mainly because the funding's coming down from, sorry, my phone started talking to me. The funding's coming down from the federal government. So that is consistent. They've got two standard forms. So once the application, fill that out. The other one is how they figure out if you are disadvantaged, and that's the personal statement, and that one's a little more financial, where they're going to be asking you all these questions. You got to provide evidence, and that's how they're determining if you are a disadvantaged individual. And that's the personal net worth form, that statement that you have to complete. So those two forms together make up the application for your disadvantaged business enterprise, DBE. And doing that, you can also get your minority business enterprise certification, MBE. If you're a woman, you can also get your WBE, women enterprise business enterprise, because that's how you're showing you're a disadvantage. You're disadvantaged because you're a woman. You're disadvantaged because you're a minority. So those are the.
All right, and then to piggyback off that, Elise also asked, would you suggest getting the DBE before obtaining the certifications like your SBA and 8A?
Yes, again, DBE is at the state level. You can get those done quickly. If you want to go after women-owned small business, which is the WOSB, or the EDWOSB, economically disadvantaged women-owned small business, or even your veteran-owned small business, VOSB, or Hub Zone, those all require you to have a cage code. You cannot apply for them until you have that cage code. So that's why I'm saying go do your DBE first. DBE does not require you to have a cage code. Go knock that out. And then also while you're doing that, you can start working on the cage. So you can all have that in your 30, 60-day goal to be able to start working on those applications, to be able to get those certifications. But yeah, the DBE, you get that quicker than you would the federal certifications, because the federal certifications that are administered from SBA or veteran administration, those require you to have a cage code.
Okay. And then Kemi asked, can a business use more than one NAICS code to increase their small business revenue qualification and not become disqualified if revenue is surpassed by that amount? So.
Yes, you can use as many NAICS code as you want. Now, you can only have one primary NAICS code. So example for us, our primary NAICS code is 5.1611, and that's the general administration management consulting services NAICS. Now, we've got lots and lots of other NAICS codes because you need other NAICS code depending on what else you're doing. So examples are, we've gone and we've done market research on SAM.gov, and we realized that, guess what? Project management is in everything. Everything government does, they need a project manager to manage it. If it's construction, a project manager is needed. If they're doing data dumps, building databases, they need a project manager. We got a contract for that. And all we did was provide a project manager, and it was a cloud integration and transformation type project, but they needed a project manager. So guess what? That NAICS code that was used was 518210. Now, we didn't have that, so now I had to go add that to my SAM.gov, my SAM profile. So every time you do market research or you realize that you go to SAM.gov, you're doing a search, you realize that, oh, wow, we can do this. But then you see the NAICS code is different to what you normally already have. Now, that's the opportunity for you. Write that down. And when you go back into your SAM.gov profile, you go and you add that to your profile. And that's how you're constantly updating your SAM profile, but you're constantly gaining new NAICS codes. And then the other tidbit on here is if you are bidding on a contract, so I'll give you an example. Some of you on the call might be part of our Seaport partners. If you're on our Seaport as a subcontractor, guess what? That NAICS code is 541330. If we're bidding as a prime and you're a sub and you're bidding with us, you have to have 541330 on your SAM profile to bid with us. So that's another thing where in one case we bid on a contract with a company that does construction. Guess what? We had to now go add construction to our SAM profile. So you could never have too many NAICS code. You just need to have one primary NAICS code. All right, is that it, Haley?
There are a couple more questions. One just, that a few people have asked about is grants. Corinda asked if the DBE certification has grants funding associated with them. And then someone else just wanted to know if our program could help with grant seeking opportunities.
One question at a time.
Okay.
Which question am I answering?
So if the DBE has any grant funds associated with them.
Yes and no. The DBE by itself is a grant that Transportation Department, U.S. Department of Transportation provided to the states to be able to help small businesses. You'll see several of those where it started out as a grant, but you might not qualify because you're for-profit. Grants are for nonprofits. So you still can get some money under that. It's just that now you have to go and work directly with that state or with the contractor, the nonprofit contractor or nonprofit that got the award. So we've had folks that we talked to who they're working with a nonprofit because the nonprofit needed training. Now they're a for-profit company. The nonprofit got the grant award and they needed to hire a trainer to do that, to complete the terms of their grant. And so they hired a for-profit company. We've also seen where grants can also go to small businesses. I haven't seen a lot of these, just letting you know. So if you go to grants.gov, not many of them go to small businesses. They're mainly for nonprofit companies. But yeah, we've seen some of those going to small businesses, but again, not many. Next question.
Yeah. Suzette asked if our program can assist with applying for grants.
Yes, we've worked with non-profits before, and we have a different program for that. It's called our V-Fed grants program. And we've worked with different nonprofits before that wanted to go after grants. We've had different types of consultation meetings with them just to get through that process. But yes.
Okay. And one more question is, can you use your home address to register your small business at the start?
Home address to do your...
Yeah, like when you're first starting up, can you use your home address?
Yes. A lot of us were, as small business owner, when you start out, yes, a lot of times you don't have your, you don't have that, um, what's that called? Your, whether it's an address, in our case, we used a mailbox number. And then we had to switch back to going back to our home address. Our recommendation is you put a suite number. So if you're in a house, you can just easily add suite 100, suite 101, and that should help. And a lot of times it's because when you start going after these certifications, they want to know the square foot of your office. And it's easier if you are saying, hey, I'm doing all my work in suite 100. And now you can map that out as to how many square footage that you're using. All right, I'm gonna jump to this offer. So we're offering the virtual V-Empower Mastermind. And again, this is a group that we're willing to work with this group for the next 6 months. And this value is $299, but up to the, and I think it's next week, August 5th, we're offering this for $99 a month. And what the mastermind is going to include is we're including where we're going to take 2 of our members and we're going to put them on the hot seat and they're getting help. So if you end up on the hot seat, just think of it this way. You're getting help that day if you are one of those 2 that's on the hot seat. You're able to share what it is that your company does. You're going to talk about your goals and your action plans for the next 30 days. And then you're going to share with the audience, what are your current needs? What do you need help with? What struggles are you having? And then the idea is for us to use our how to fish approach, where the audience is now going to ask you questions based on what you're already talked about. And then in some cases, they're going to recommend actions you can take. They're going to help solve some of those current struggles. We've had folks in the audience who actually like, hey, I can do this. I can provide this service to you. Or I've got a partner who does this exact thing that you're asking, that you're struggling with, and they were able to connect. I've had folks where their issue was, hey, we need a contract, and I had somebody in the room who already got that contract, and they're able to pair them together. So again, this type of mastermind, it's mainly for business owners who are looking to get the help that they need to move and grow their business. So if this is you, you're interested in this, again, I talk to folks all across the US every single day. And I've got folks in North Carolina and Florida, and I'm like, wish you guys could just talk to each other. And that's what this is for. We're also going to have split sessions where you end up in a group as part of this. And in that session, if you didn't get to be on the hot seat, you're now able to share your 2-minute pitch and what your current needs are in that group, and that in that session that you're in, you guys will be able to talk with each other, come up with recommended solutions. And so again, our total value is $299, but I'm making this an offer for you for $99 a month for the next 6 months. So if you're interested in working with us with this, please sign up by that time. I think 30 minutes after our call tonight, you'll be able to get the link to this. And I'm sure Haley can also send out the link to you during the chat here. But feel free to sign up. We're excited about starting up this mastermind again. And then we're looking at in the future to have where we're doing little VIP masterminds where we're bringing in speakers that you want to talk with that can help you in your business also. All right, so our next V-GovCon Live is going to be Tuesday, the 23rd. And again, we normally have these the 4th Tuesday of the month. And for our next one, just to combine with this, today was creating your your technical proposal. Our next V-GovCon Live is covering your price proposals. You do not want to miss that. So if you've got other business owners who are struggling with pricing, you don't want to miss our next session. So again, please register when you get that link and be able to have where you're signing up for our next session and be able to attend. Anything else, Haley?
No, I sent the link out and they'll receive the email as well with our offer. They missed that.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us for V-GovCon Live with Varetta Huggins, and enjoy the rest of the night. Bye.